So we'll have OS lecture today instead of A. So let us continue with deadlock, right? We were discussing the concept of deadlock, and we were looking at the resource management, right, in the deadlock, and deadlock avoidance, basically. That was the topic we were looking at. So I'll continue with bankers today, right? We are going to study bankers algorithm, as well as we'll take an example of that, right? Okay, so let us start with that. So first we'll look at the algorithm and the approach, and then we'll see a solved example, right? That will be the approach. So resource allocation denial, right? So the strategy was something like this. That is, you have to declare all the resource requirements in advance, right? And then we look at the current state of the system, right? That is, suppose at time t is equal to 10, if you are looking at the state of your system, and with currently available resources, if you can complete all the processes, right, with currently available resources, if you can complete the all processes which are present, right, then we can say that there is no question of having a deadlock, right? Because so basically, if you remember, I told you regarding simulation, right? So we are actually going to simulate the execution, right, by this algorithm. So bankers works on a small part of algorithm of this is called safety algorithm. Safety means we try to simulate the execution, and then we see that after the allocation happens, right, even after we allocate it actually, right, then is deadlock possible or not, right? So that is what we are going to see, right? So for that, let us understand some terms, and then we'll see the pseudocode, okay, and then we'll see the example. That will be the approach, okay. So it is called a banker's algorithm, as I told you, because bank does not allocate cash in such a way that they run out of cash in first hour, right? So the cash allocation is very much dynamic, fine, so that they can serve as many customers as possible. That is the plan that they make. So over there, cash is a resource. Over here, we have physical resources in computer system, right? So that's why it is called banker's algorithm. Okay. Let us see the terminologies. So if we assume that system is having fixed number of resources, generally the resources are fixed, right? They are not added dynamically, right, at runtime, okay, because you have a hardware, so resources are fixed. So based on that, we have three terms. The first is state. Okay, am I audible once again to all? Yes, so there was an interruption because the connection was lost. So let us resume. Okay, so we are discussing regarding the state, right? So at a given point of time, what is the allocation of resources to each process, right? So do we need to maintain a special data structure for this allocation of current resources to the processes? We have seen one matrix, right? If you remember, right? So we require a special data structure that is going to maintain all this information, right? So that is one thing, right? Then the next term is safe state, right? So as I told you, we would like to simulate right? And we would like to see that with current available resources and current allocation, can I complete all the processes or not, right? If I can complete all the processes, then there is no possibility of deadlock, ideally, right? Because no process is neither going to starve out or neither deadlock is going to occur, right? So when this situation occurs, right, where everyone is winning, right, every process is able to complete, that is called a safe state, right? So let us see the definition now. Safe state is where there is at least one sequence of allocation to the processes, right, that does not result into deadlock. So the simple example for this is, suppose you are having three processes, P1, P2, and P3, right? Now, in whatever order you are able to complete this process, let us say the order is P3, P1, P2, or P2, P3, P1, or P1, P3, P2, right? Whatever may be the order. But if you are able to complete all these processes which are there in your main memory, right? Can we say that deadlock is not going to occur or deadlock is not present, right? So that is the strategy, right? If after simulation, if the answer is yes, that means if your state is safe, then can we actually go for allocation? Remember, we are just doing simulation, right? And we are just testing whether we can allocate the resources. And if I allocate these resources, are we able to complete all the processes or not, right? We are checking that mathematically. If your answer is yes, that means yes. If your answer is yes, then what we can say? The system is in safe state. Are you getting some idea regarding this? Still, we'll see the algorithm, right? So then you will be clear. Okay, good. Fine. So at least one sequence. What do I mean by that is, the order can be anything. P1, P2, P3, P3, P2, P1, anything, any combination. But ultimately, all processes complete. Okay, that is given over here, right? What is unsafe state, right? Suppose after you allocate the resources, right? Out of three, one is still remaining, right? One process is not able to complete even after you do the allocation in simulation, right? What we can say about that state? Yes, it is unsafe. That means it might be possible that in future, that process is either starving out or it is deadlocked. It is waiting for something, right? There are two possibilities. And that is why the title of this chapter is what? Deadlock and starvation. So actually we are trying to address both the problems, not only deadlock. Are you getting the idea regarding this? Yes. Safe versus unsafe. Are you clear with that difference? Right? We'll see this mathematically also, right? In the example, so it will be clear. Now, let us look at the data structures that we require, right? Then we'll look at the process that is in the previous slide. Okay. So the first data structure is available. Available is a vector, right? That defines how many instances of each resources are available. How many instances of each resources are available. So if your values are like this, 1, 3, and 2, and there are three types of resources. There are total three types of resources. So what this 3 signifies in this list? Suppose there are type 1, type 2, and type 3. There are three resources, right? So 3 means there are 3 instances of type 2 available. There are 3 instances of type 2 available. Is this clear? Right? Because while we solve the example, you should have this in your mind, right? So that's why we are going. Yes, surely, I'll repeat. If the value is 3, right? If you assume that this is an array, right? So this is array of number of resources available, right? And suppose there are 3 types of resources we have, right? For example, let me name them, right? T1, T2, and T3, right? And now if you see 1, 3, and 2, right? So what does this mean? There are three instances of T2. That means if T2 is a IO channel, so that means there are 3 IO channels currently available. Got it? Right? So this is an important data structure. That's what we need to use, right? Next, we have a matrix that is called max, right? So what max defines? As I told you earlier, this algorithm requires that every process has to declare its maximum requirement in advance. Yes, it is difficult to estimate, right? But you can use some estimation algorithm. Again, one more algorithm has to be used, and using that, the process can estimate that how many resources it will require, right? So if we go with that assumption, right, then we can say that every process knows its maximum requirement. It will know that I will require 3 IO channels, I will require 2 memory blocks, right? But when, at which point it has to know that? Yes, that is the important part. Where it should know that? At beginning, when it starts. Okay, so if this is not known, if this value is not known, this algorithm won't work. Are you clear with this basics? Yes? Okay, fine. Now, allocation, one more matrix. Now, what is N and M over here? N is number of processes and M is the types of resources, right? So that's why it is N cross M. Okay, we'll see the example, don't worry, right? Very soon. Allocation is again a matrix. Now, if max is defining maximum requirement, what is allocation going to be? It defines current allocation, right? That is how many resources of each type are allocated to which processes, right? So it is again a matrix, right? We'll see the example of this also. Fine. If I know current allocation, if I know maximum capacity, M is number of or types of resources, Priya. Types of resources, right? Yes. Can I predict need, future need of that process? What will be the equation? Simple matrix subtraction, right? Max minus allocation. All of you are clear with this? Yes. If I subtract allocation from the maximum capacity, what I can get is how much further requirement this process needs, right? So need is an important parameter in Banker's algorithm. If you make a small mistake, even though it is a small subtraction, very simplest thing, right? Then your entire example will be going in incorrect direction. Request of resources will take up later, Sainish. Right now we are just looking at the safety state or what is safe state, right? That is the second part of the algorithm. We'll look at that later, right? Okay, need is not request of resources. No, it is calculated manually, right? Still, request has not come into picture. That's what I'm saying, right? Okay. Now let us look at the approach. Need of resources again. Yes, need of resources. Is that fine? So suppose you require, yes, I'm just repeating with an example. Suppose your maximum requirement is 7 resources, right? Currently, you are allocated 3 resources. Okay, that means how many more you need to complete? 4. Is that fine, Sanish? Yes, right? So that is the concept we are trying to find. Okay, good. So as I said, to solve the example is very simple, but the background process you should know, right? That is the important part. Okay, let us look at the approach now. When a process enters the system, right, it must declare the number of instances of each resource type, right, that it requires. So that's what I said. You need to declare how many resources you require in advance, right? This number should not exceed the total resources of the system, obviously, right? Because you cannot cross the maximum capacity, right? Then you will never be able to get the resources, right? You will be ultimately suffering from starvation, right? So that is not possible. So this is a constraint, you can say. Fine, next. When a process requests a set of resources, system must determine whether the allocation will keep the system in safe state or not, right? So whenever you are getting a request from any process, what we need to do? We are not going for the actual allocation. What we'll do simply? We'll do simulation, right? Using simulation will verify that I'm able to complete all the processes or not. If I'm able to complete, what is my outcome of that? I can say that system is in safe state. And then I can go for actual allocation. All of you are able to understand this? This is the approach, right? Still, we have not seen the algorithm, remember, right? Okay. If yes, that means if it is safe, then actual allocation is done. Otherwise, you will block the process. That is a simple strategy that we follow. Okay. Let us look at the pseudocode now, and then we'll directly jump into the example, right? Remember, I'm just discussing the safety algorithm right now. Resource request has not come into picture. What I assume is at time t is equal to 10, I want to check whether the current state is safe or not. Okay, fine. Let us go with that assumption into the algorithm. So we declare two vectors, work and finish. Work is nothing but it is a copy of currently available resources. Right? It is just like you are creating a local variable that is maintaining a copy of currently available resources. Fine. And this is going to be critical because if you know your available resources, based on that, you can decide your allocation. Yes or no? Right. So that's why it is an important parameter. Fine. Finish of I, this array is kept as a status array. So I want to check which processes are complete. So suppose you are having 3 processes. So finish will have 3 entries. Okay. And initially all of them will be false because neither of the process is complete. Okay. Once each process gets completed in simulation again, remember we are doing simulation, right? What you will do? You will make that entry true. Getting this idea? Right? Initially, all the array items are false, right? That means that process is not complete. Okay, fine. Let us continue. Find an I, that means find such a process that satisfied the following condition, right? What is the first condition? It should not have been finished, obviously, right? Otherwise, there is no pain in, there is no, you can say, need to take this pain, right? To go through this algorithm, fine. So find out incomplete process, first thing. Second condition, its requirement of resources is less than or equal to available. Obviously, yes. Understood this point? If your requirement is greater than available, right now it is ready state, Rishi, because generally, yes, currently there is a process running, right? Plus whatever are the ready processes, we are considering both of them. Because we assume that uniprocessor system is there. So only one process is running at a time. Plus, there are 3 processes lying in your ready queue. So total will consider 4 processes, right? Okay, fine. So need is less than equal to work. That means your process can complete with currently available resources. Is this statement clear? Your process can complete with currently available resources. Fine. If no such process exists, what we'll do? We'll go out. Because if you can't complete any of the process, what is the outcome? System is not in safe state, right? So that means deadlock might be present, right? So you should actually block that process if that is happening. Okay. Otherwise, what we'll do? Suppose we can complete, right? Then we'll actually do simulation, right? So see, what is step number 3? Work is equal to work plus allocation. So what you are doing over here, you are adding the allocated resources to that process into available. Why? Because what did you assume in this background? Can you tell me? What was the assumption? Why we went for step number 3, not step number 4? Because its requirement, suppose there was a process P2, right? And P2 could complete, right? So what I assume is P2 has completed, right? And if P2 has completed, can we reclaim the resources which were allocated? I hope you are getting this point, right? Can we reclaim the resources which were allocated to P2, right? Yes. So that is what we need to do. Update your current available values, right? So clear with this line, all of you? Work is equal to work plus allocation, right? You are adding the reclaimed resources into current available. Yes, that's correct, right? So that means now I'll have more availability, right? And what are the chances? With that more available resources, I can complete the remaining processes also, right? That is the process. Now we'll go back into loop. Yes, sure, Sainish. Work is nothing but it is equal to current available resources. So for example, you are having the values like this, 3, 4, and 2, right? So what does this 3 signify over here? There are 3 instances of type T1 available. If I say T1, T2, T3 are the headers. Are you getting the idea, Sanish? Yes, so it is equal, it is just used as a local variable, right? That is why you don't want to disturb your existing available vector, right? So that's why we are making changes in only local variable. Okay, fine. Finish of I will be true, yes or no? Because that process has completed, right? So that is why we will set the index of that to true. Okay, now go to step 2. So what we'll do now? Can you see a loop occurring over here? With your new availability, you will check for remaining processes. And this goes on, right? Until what? There are 2 scenarios. Either all processes complete or any one of them is not able to complete. That means, see, you have this condition over here. If no such I exist, that means sometimes it might happen that with current available resources, one process is being left out. Okay. So in that case, what you can say, that is the negative outcome of safety algorithm. What we can say about that? The system is not in safe state, or you can say system is in unsafe state. Okay. Clear with the approach? Yes, we'll see the example right away. Fine. So to make you clear. Fine. So I'm just sharing another PDF. Just wait for a second. Okay. Can you see the handwritten notes which I have shared? Okay, fine. Good. So let us continue with this, right? We have 5 processes, right? Let me turn on the highlighter so that we can, yes, we have 5 processes, P0, P1, P2, P3, and P4. And there are 3 resource types, A, B, and C. Okay. Instances are given like this. There are 10 instances of A available, 5 of B available, and 7 of C available. Clear up to this? Basics? Right? Okay. At time t is equal to x, right? This is the current situation you are given. Okay. So you are given the allocation matrix, right? This is allocation matrix. You are given the maximum requirement of each process, right? And you are also given the available vector. Now I think you are getting clear with the notations, yes or no? Why allocation is a matrix, why max is a matrix, right? And why available is a vector. Sanish, are you clear with that? You had the doubt regarding this? Right? Okay. So based on this, what I can calculate? Need, right? So need, you have to, in exam also, you might be given these many information, right? Need has to be calculated manually. Don't forget to do that. If you are in a hurry, you might go with allocation as a need and then confusion happens, right, at runtime. Right? So first thing you should do, given a banker's example, is calculate need matrix. Okay, that is the first step. So see, that is given over here. So it is simple subtraction, 7 minus 0, right? That is 7 over here. 5 minus 1, that is 4, right? 3 minus 0, that is 3. That's how we calculate need. So can you do that manually? I'm not going in further details, right? Simple subtraction, okay? Let us focus on the important part. What I need to do next? Tell me. What is the next step? Once need is calculated, I need to declare 2 vectors, work and finish. Okay? Finish will have all values as false. How many entries will have? 5 entries. There are 5 processes, right? Remember, P0 to P4. Okay? So there will be 5 entries. Now, work will be equal to what? Yes. Work will be equal to available. So your work will contain 332 Clear up to this? This is the first step of the example. If you make mistake, as I said, in simple subtraction, your entire example will go wrong, right? Because the sequence that you will find might be incorrect, or the other cases, actually the system might be in safe state, but you will come out with unsafe state, right? So that's why it is very critical. Spend some time on this, right? Okay. So that's what we are doing over here. We start with P0, right? Suppose I'm assuming that my processes are lying in an array. So I'll be starting with P0 itself. All 5 are ready, right? P0 to P4. Work is 332. Finish of I is equal to false for all, okay? Now, what do we need to check? Need of process X should be less than or equal to what? Work, okay? So what is need of P0? Let us go with that. 743, right? So I need to check 743 is less than 332. It is false, right? So what I need to do next? Continue, right? Check for P1, right? First, what I need to check? Finish of P1 has to be false, right? Then only I can go ahead, obviously, right? So what I'm checking next, need of P1 is 1 to 2, right? From need matrix, okay? 1 to 2 over here. That is less than 332. It is yes. Clear up to this, all of you? Right? Okay. What should we do next? Assume that P1 has completed. Okay. Update your current available metric, current available vector, sorry. Right? Reclaim resources. That's correct, right? How you will find that? How you will find that which resources were allocated to P1? From allocation matrix. Remember, we have allocation matrix. So what are allocated resources to P1? 200. So P2 was not allocated any resource of type B or C. It was just allocated 2 instances of A. Okay. So I need to add 332 plus what? It is a simple array addition, 200. That's correct. Right? So the final answer will be 532. That is your updated work vector. Okay. Continue. What else I need to do without forgetting? Update the finish. Right? Because see, over here, if you make a mistake, in the end, you will find that this process was not complete. Right? You will have to look back into your entire example. Fine. So when this vector has to be maintained simultaneously, right? Finish of P1 is true. Fine. Again, go to 2. Check for the next process in chain, right? Checking for P2. I'm not going to need matrix now, right? Just assume that these values are derived, right? So 600 is less than 532. It is not, right? Because it requires 6 of type A, but we only have 5. Okay? So we cannot complete P2. Continue. Go with P3. Finish of P3 is false and need of P3 is 011. Can we complete that? Yes. Right? So same process repeats. Assume that P3 has completed. Reclaim its resources. Let us see what P3 was having. P3 is having a lot of resources, right? 211. Right? So 211 will be added to what? 532. Right? That was your current available matrix, right? So it gives you 743. Right? P3 done. Okay. So how many processes you have completed till now? 2. And we continue. Right? Check for P4. Right? Finish of P4 is false. That is correct. Need of P4 is 431. That is less than 743 again. So we can complete P4. Clear up to this? Right? Reclaim the resources of P4. Let us see what P4 was having. P4 was having 2 instances of C. Right? So let us reclaim. So what you will get? 745, right? If you are adding 0022 to previous work. Okay, so I think you are through with the process now, right? It is a simple addition, simple subtraction. But see, if you make a small error, right? it can cost you a huge number of marks, ideally, right? So be careful with this. Fine. Finish of P4 is true, right? So my current status is this: second process completed, fourth and fifth completed. I can again loop back, right? Keep on checking. Okay. So finish of P0 is false. Again, it is false, right? Now, is the condition satisfying? 743 is less than or equal to. Actually, I have missed equal sign over here, but you can assume that it is present, right? So we can go with P0, right? So reclaim P0's resources. P0 was having what? 010, right? So let us add that. So now what we'll get? 755, right? That is my current state. Okay. Let us try for the last one, right? Need of P2, 600. Can we complete that? Yes, right? So the final value you will get will be 1057. Can we verify this from somewhere, from the given data structures? Yes. So what is the way? What you need to add up? Yes. How you will get 10? That is columns. Yes. Which columns? Yes, that's correct. Allocation plus available, that is going to give you. So there is a check for solving this example. After solving the example, if you want to check whether your answer is correct or not, just compare these values, right? So 1057 is the final outcome. And what is the safe sequence? This is one more thing we did not discuss while we discussed the algorithm. Safe sequence is the order in which the processes are completing, right? Yes. Why are we going to step 2 again from 3? Yes. So until we find processes which can complete, we will continue, Sainesh. But if even after the current state, you are not able to complete those remaining processes, then you can say that there is a deadlock possible. Getting the idea, Sainesh? We will try our best for looping, right? But if your state remains same, you have to stop. Got that? Yes, to check safety. That's correct. Right. So this is called safety algorithm only. Right. Okay. So what is the safe sequence in this situation? We completed P1 first, then we completed P3, then we went for P4, then P0 and P2. But what was the other safe sequence possible? Instead of going in sequence, I could have checked P2 first and then P0, right? So remember one thing regarding Banker's algorithm, it is possible to have more than one safe sequences. It depends upon what? Depends upon the checking or the logic that you are doing, right? If you assume that your processes are there in an array and you are going sequentially, then the order will be this, what we followed, right? But if you are having a dynamic data structure, right, then you might decide, right, which process runs first, okay? Even it depends upon your dispatcher. Let us say dispatcher gives you P2 first and P0 next, okay? So there are possible, there are multiple safe sequences possible, right, for any situation. Sequence of checking of multiple true conditions. Yes, that's correct, right? Okay. If you don't find even one safe sequence, what we can say? That means at least one process, I'm saying at least, there can be two also, right, could not complete with my current available resources. What happened? Suppose that after P4 was completed, right, you are having 745, right? 745 was your latest available. With this, you can't complete neither P0 nor P2. Then we can say that these two processes are possibly in deadlock situation. Got this point? This outcome is important to understand, right? Algorithm is very simple, right? Okay, good. So this was just a safety algorithm which we are checking from time to time. Okay, how to verify the answer is correct or not? So if you are getting a safe sequence, Keval, you can try for another safe sequence, right? If another safe sequence is possible in that example, that is one way to check. right? Or else you trace the example once again, right? That is the best thing I can tell you, right? Okay. So this is the approach, right? That's what we go for. Now let us go for the next algorithm that is known as resource request algorithm. Suppose you checked that your current state is safe, right? I'm going with that assumption. Current state is safe. Now, one of the 5 processes is requesting some extra resources. One of the 5 processes is requesting some extra resources. So do I need to check for safety once again? It's an obvious decision, but think an answer, right? Obviously, yes, right? Because after you allocate those extra resources, you might still encounter unsafe state, right? So do I need to do the same simulation once again? Yes. You're getting the point, right? So let us go with that now, right? Suppose process is requesting some values, right? Let us say you are getting a request from P1 and the request is like this, 1, 0, and 2, right? We'll take an example also. I have a solved example of this, right? But right now, let us think for the algorithm, right? So what is 102 signifying? It is already holding some resources and it is requesting extra resources. That's what we want to do, right? If some process requests for extra resources, then we have to make it false again. Yes, you have to simulate the entire process once again, right? Because if you don't do that, then you won't be able to come to know that if I allocate these extra resources, still my system is in safe state or not, right? So that is the concept behind this. Okay. Again, this algorithm is very simple. Let us go through that. Now, before you simulate, we need to do 2 checks. Before you start simulation, 2 more checks are required. What is the first one? Request of I, that means this 102, which I have given you in the chat box, is less than need or not. Why we are verifying that? Can anyone tell me? Request of I is less than or equal to need of I. Remember, we went with one assumption earlier. What was the assumption? You cannot request more than the resources available. Neither you cannot request more than your maximum capacity, right? You said that I require 4 IO channels earlier, right? So can you request for 5? You have declared, right, in advance that I require 4. And with that, I'm going with the algorithm. And now you are saying that I need 5. So that is not satisfiable. Otherwise, this algorithm will be incorrect. Okay. So that is what we are checking over here. Request is less than or equal to need, right? If yes, then go to step 2. Otherwise, raise error condition. Okay. See, you will have to write a program for this in the lab, right? Let me tell you, not in next 2 or 3 labs, but at least in one of the last few labs, 8th, 9th, or 10th, right? So just keep this in mind, this algorithm, right? Okay. So request of I is less than or equal to need of I. Go to step 2. Otherwise, raise error condition. Why? Because it has exceeded maximum claim. All of you are clear with the first condition, right? Okay. Second condition, second check. Now, obviously, what I need to check before I simulate? Request should be satisfiable. That means I should be able to satisfy the request with my current available resources. Otherwise, what is the only option I need to go with? If you cannot satisfy that new request, right? Do we need to terminate that process? Termination is not the solution, right? Block that process, right? Block that process. Okay. So that is the concept. Fine. If you can satisfy, go ahead. Otherwise, stop. That is wait over there, right? Now comes the important part, pretend to allocate. Okay, that is again a simulation. Okay. See, before we go for pretension, we need to update the data structures, right? So see what we are doing. available will be available minus request. Why we are doing this? Because we assume that we are allocating the extra resources, right? So those extra resources will be taken out from the current available, obviously. So now you will have less available resources. Okay, clear with the first line, right? See, again, I'm repeating, this is simple subtraction addition, but you need to be careful. You can't get overconfident while solving this, right? Because otherwise you will make a mistake, and in the end, your answer will be something else, right? Okay, allocation of I is equal to allocation plus request. What we are doing over here? Updating the current allocation of process I, right? Because now I need to depict that my process is having more resources than it previously had. Okay. Next, what is remaining? Need of I decreases, yes or no? Because now you have allocated some extra resources, so its requirement has decreased. Okay, so these three simple addition subtractions are required. Clear with all three? Right? Okay, so after calculating these three, what do we need to do? Call safety algorithm. Right? This is the point where you have to insert a call to safety algorithm with current state. Okay, repeat the entire process of safety algorithm. If your outcome is a safe sequence, then what can we say? If you are able to complete all the processes, that means you can go with actual extra allocation. I'm repeating, you can go with actual extra allocation. Already we had allocated some resources, we are allocating extra resources. It is safe basically, right? Otherwise, if you're not able to find even a single safe sequence, what can we say? It is unsafe state, and it is recommended that this process has to wait. Okay, and the important part is what? This line. Old allocation state is restored. What does that mean? In database, what do we call that? Rollback, right? What do we need to roll back? These three changes, right? Are you clear with this? That is why we call it a simulation, right? Okay, good. Can we look at the example now? Right? I'm not going to solve that safety example once again. I'll just check for the conditions. Okay. I will already uploaded this PDF on the shared folder. You can solve the example manually, right? Fine. Let us look at that. Let me just share that PDF with you. Resource request. Okay. Can you see that screen? Okay. So the situation is, what happens if P1 request, okay, sorry, let me select the highlighter. Yes. What if P1 requests? So you might be given a text description like this, right? P1 requires one additional resource of type A, right? 2 instances of type C. That means what will be your vector? 102, right? 102. Okay. So that is what you need to find first. Request of P1 is 102. Okay. What is need of P1? It is 122 from the last example, right? Let me just switch back to that. Need of P1. Yes, it is 122, right? I'm following the same example, right? Okay. So is request less than or equal to need? Yes, right? So it is not violating the maximum constraint. It is not violating the maximum constraint, right? So we can go ahead. So is request less than or equal to available, right? I missed equal sign. You can add that over here, right? So yes, right? That is again true. Fine. So what do we need to do? One subtraction, one addition, and one more subtraction. So what you will do first? Available will be available minus request. So 332 minus 102. So now what you will be left with? 230. This is your updated available matrix. I have seen student making this mistake over here. That is, they go with current available only. they forget this subtraction, and then what will happen in the end? You will assume that you are having extra resources, right? So this happens, right? So just be careful with this, right? Okay, next, allocation is equal to allocation plus request. So allocation has to be updated. Again, you should not forget this step. So if I go back, allocation of P, it was, okay, allocation of P1, right? It is 200, right? Yes, that is over here, 200, right? We need to add 102 to that, right? So final location will be 302, okay? If you are solving this on paper, if you already prepared this, right, this particular table, right, you can just check out these values and overwrite, right? That would be better, okay? But if you don't do that, the answer will be incorrect, okay? Fine. Need of I has to be decreased. So need will change from 1 to 2 minus 102, 0 to 0. Clear up to this, right? And now what has to start? Yes, you have to go with updated value only. Updated available, yes, that's right. You will have to see, now you will have to assume that your current available is 230, right? See, I'm not using available anywhere over here in this part. Sure.
We have completed every process. Later on, new request comes. So after at one time every process is true.
Okay.
Available is 10 by 7.
Got your point. Yes. So Rishi has a question that you have already simulated this once, right? Now we actually see in this situation, we had looked at the safety algorithm first because I wanted to make you understand the inner part first, right? Actually, this executes at the end. This algorithm, safety algorithm, executes when? After resource request, right? So actually you have seen this example and that's why you are getting confused, right? So in this case, you are having current available is what? 1057. That's what you are saying, right? So we need to forget about that because we are starting with a fresh example, right? Although these examples are linked, that's why you are getting confused, right? In exam, it won't be like that. In exam, you might be given this kind of request, right? See, there are two kinds of question possible. Let me come to the point directly. One type of question is, you are given the current state. Okay, so you are given the allocation, you are given the work, and you are given the max matrix, right? These three are given, and you need to find out whether the current state is safe or not. That is one type of question, okay? And the second type of question is, given this state, right? And then you are given that, assume that this situation is safe. It might be given in the question. Assume that this situation is safe. And now, if you have one more request like this, right? For example, you are getting the new request as 132 for process P1, right? Now you check that after allocating 132 to P1, the state will be safe or not. Got it? Right? That's why these two examples are not linked. Okay? Available will be given, definitely. That's correct, Keval. Right? Values will not be missing, right? Don't worry. Okay. But are you clear with the type? Right? One type of question is this, that is, you are given the current state and you are asked to find out whether it is safe or not. Okay. Second is, you are given that it is safe. Okay, and data structures are also given, and you are given one more request, and then you need to simulate once again that whether you grant that request, additional request, is your safe state becoming unsafe? Getting my point, right? So there are two patterns. Even the exams like GATE, these are the two types of questions being asked from the deadlock portion. From the bankers is a very popular questioning domain, right? You will get at least 1 to 2 questions in any of the competitive examinations from this topic, right? So no need to remember this algorithm. If you remember the process, that is fine. I hope now you can easily solve any example, right? Okay. So let us continue with this. Okay, let me. So see, I'm preparing a new fresh matrix, right? Okay, so this is my current allocation, right? What is the modification we have made? Allocation of P1 has been updated. Yes. Then need of P1 has reduced. Okay. What else? Available has reduced. Okay. With these three things, I need to go once again. Okay. Let us look at the example quickly. 743 is the first. It is still not less than 230, so I can't complete. Okay. Then 020, that is for P1, is less than 230, so we are able to complete. Okay. So now what I'll do? Work plus allocation, right? So my current value will be 532. Okay. Then I'll check for P2. P2 is still not satisfying the condition because it is 600 less than 532, right? Check for P3, 011 less than 532, correct? Right, so we can complete. Okay. Work is equal to work plus allocation again. 743 will be your latest available. Okay. So we have completed 2, right? Checking for P4, it is still satisfying the condition. So P4 completes, you get 745. Okay. Check for P0 once again, right? P0 is now satisfying the condition, so it is able to complete, you get 755. P2, luckily we have got 7 resources, right? So we can satisfy this condition, right? So finally, again, it is 1057. And what is the ultimate outcome? What can we say about the state of the process? Even after we allocate extra request, right? Still my system is remaining in the safe state. Okay. So now you can actually allocate the resources. This was the simulation. So yes, you have to invest your time in calculation, right? But computer can do that very quickly, right? So that is why this is a very popular algorithm for deadlock. What is the method we are discussing? Prevention, avoidance, or detection? It is avoidance, right? It is deadlock avoidance. Clear up to this, right? So now only one topic is left, and that is deadlock detection. We have one more algorithm, very small, that we'll see tomorrow, and that will finish this chapter. Okay. And then we will start with a small chapter that can be easily completed within one, or actually we are going to cover only one topic from that chapter, that is called disk scheduling, right? IO management and disk scheduling. We are not going to cover that complete chapter, just one topic. Like you have studied scheduling algorithms for processes, similarly we are having scheduling algorithm for disk, or you can say devices, right? So that can be covered very easily and quickly, right? So we might be able to cover up to that. So process, that is synchronization and concurrency, we have finished. Chapter number 5. Chapter 6 we will finish tomorrow. That is deadlock. Okay. And then we might start with that IO management and disk scheduling. That might be your probable syllabus. We still have 2 lectures, right? And I have uploaded the slides up to deadlock. Okay. I'll upload the disk scheduling slide once we finish that topic. Okay. If you are referring to the book, chapter number 5, chapter number 6, we will finish till tomorrow. Okay. And from chapter 5, one topic I have left out, reader-writer problem. That we will cover in the lab session after the session. So you don't need to read that right now. Okay. And from chapter 6, there is a problem called dining philosophers. That also we will see in lab. Okay. So in the last class on Thursday or Friday, we will discuss the syllabus. Okay. And you can read accordingly. Fine. We still have 2 lectures. So we'll finish deadlock and we'll go for disk scheduling. That is the plan. Okay. Okay. So let us finish. So go through these slides and the examples today itself and try to solve it on paper once. Okay. You will find a number of examples for bankers online, and just practice. That is required, right? Okay.